The departure gets pretty exciting for Southwest 4656 shortly after takeoff from LaGuardia. Why? Let's find out.
Southwest 4656, 2100, be the 10.
Southwest 4656, departure ready to contact, climb maintain 8000.
Maintain 8000, Southwest 4656.
Okay, pretty typical departure out of LaGuardia off of runway 13. They're going to do a left-hand turnout. They're on their way to Midway in Chicago, so they're going to fly about an hour and a half to get out there. They've got about 14,000 pounds of gas maybe altogether, and they start climbing out, normal climb out, when something happens, and it's going to cause a cascading series of events that's going to make this a very tense flight.
Southwest 4656, turn left heading 320.
320 heading, Southwest 4656.
All right, start turning to your left. Head towards Chicago.
Southwest 4656, climb maintain 15,000.
Okay, so he gives him a climb to 15,000, but he doesn't hear anything back immediately. That's our first indication that something's going on. Whatever the issue that's going on with this 737 now is begun to develop, and the pilots are busy trying to address what's going on with their airplane.
Southwest 4656, climb maintain 15,000.
Second call.
Stand by 1 second, Southwest 4656.
Standby. He's going to say standby. We're dealing with something here. And so he's not going to say exactly what it is. He probably doesn't have time. And you're going to understand in a second why he didn't have time.
Okay.
Okay, he says. And after a little while.
4656, everything okay? Anything I can assist you with?
Okay, so it's a little time transpires. He's like, are you guys okay? Because you're just kind of tooling out there. And they're busy. And you're going to know why here in a second.
We're Southwest 4656.
Here we go.
Go ahead.
Yeah, with an emergency for fumes on the aircraft. Sorry to get back to LaGuardia, but stand by.
Okay, so he now explains in the shortest and briefest of details that we're declaring an emergency for fumes on the aircraft. And so they've got fumes up in the cockpit. Here's why fumes are such a serious deal. You don't know where they're coming from, and you don't know how serious whatever it is that's creating the fumes. It could be some minor thing, and they could dissipate in a minute or two. They could get a whole lot worse, and you could have a fire that's about to rage out of control. The worst was, I think, the Swiss Air 111 flight way back in the day, where the airplane burned up in the cockpit. The pilots had to evacuate the aircraft, had to evacuate the cockpit because of the fire and the smoke up there. That is the worst that's ever happened. This is nothing like that. But having said that, these guys are taking it, and they're taking it very seriously. The other thing about fumes in the cockpit is that, boy, you breathe the fumes in a couple of 3 times, you'll get a little lightheaded, potentially. It gives you a terrible headache. And so you got to get on oxygen as fast as you can. So I think part of the delay here was they started smelling the fumes. They looked at each other, said, yep, do you smell that? I smell that. Okay, go on oxygen. When you put the oxygen mask on, it takes, I don't know, 30 seconds to a minute to get everything adjusted. You got to reach over, grab your oxygen mask, put it on your head, make sure the oxygen is flowing. Then you got to flip a switch for your microphone to make sure you can talk. Then you got to be able to hear, so you got to put your headset back on and make sure you've got a comms check with your co-pilot. And then you got to check with the flight attendants in the back to make sure that they're not getting smoke and fumes back there. So all of that takes a little while. That's why the hold on, standby, we'll get back to you was going on. Now he declares an emergency. So I want to talk to my captains and my future captains here. If you watch any number of Captain Steeeve videos, I want to encourage you to declare a Mayday. Mayday, Mayday, Mayday. That's the standard procedure for declaring an emergency worldwide. Not just in the US, not just overseas, everywhere now these days. Mayday, Mayday, Mayday. Why do you want to say that? Because it starts a whole sequence of events in motion that will save you a lot of radio communication down the road, and it helps air traffic control and whatever tower frequency you're going to end up talking to get the fire trucks rolling, to get all of the personnel and everything that they need to get out and going there and ready for you. If you hold on to it and you just say, hey, we're declaring an emergency, that's very 1985-ish of you, okay? That's what we used to say. I'm declaring an emergency, okay? And then they'd start the stuff rolling. You got to say Mayday or pan. But in this case, you got fumes in the cockpit. This is a Mayday event. So please say Mayday in the future. Here we go.
Okay, Southwest 4656, are you ready to go in right away? You need vectors for burn fuel.
We'll be right back, but first, a quick word from our sponsor. So when I was flying, if I needed visuals, I looked out the window. Now that I'm retired, apparently everything happens inside a computer. And my producer keeps saying things like, we need more B-roll. I thought that meant backup flight controls. This video is sponsored by Storyblocks, which I've learned is basically the flight bag for editors. Storyblocks gives you unlimited downloads of high-quality footage, music, sound effects, templates, everything for one predictable subscription cost. And let me tell you, when the team is building recreations or explaining an incident, having unlimited content means they can try different visuals without me asking, are we burning fuel here? What I do appreciate is the licensing. Everything you download is royalty-free and pre-licensed, which means nobody's calling us later asking why we use their airplane. And a lot of the footage comes from real creators around the world, which actually helps make these aviation stories feel, well, real. Apparently, it even works with all of the editing programs the kids use. After Effects, Premiere, DaVinci Resolve, and my producer says it saves them hours every week, which means fewer late night editing emergencies and more coffee for me. To get started with unlimited stock media downloads at one set price, head to storyblocks.com/Captain Steeeve or click the link in the description. Thank you to Storyblocks for sponsoring. Sponsors like this help us to make more content for you.
Probably vectors for a second, but just give me a second.
Okay, you got it. So I'm going to have to turn you just to keep you in my airspace anyway. Southwest 4656, turn right, heading 080.
Left side 00, South 4656.
So the controller says, do you need vectors to burn off fuel? You're going to find out in a minute that their passenger load is really light. They're probably not overweight because of how few passengers they have on board. But the captain knows he's got to get through a couple of checklists. Now, they haven't lost an engine, so they're not going to have to do an engine failure checklist. Probably not going to do an overweight checklist. They do have to communicate with the passengers. They do have to communicate with the flight attendants. And the flight attendants, they might have gotten the carts out, are already getting stuff prepped. They got to put all that stuff away, secure the cabin, make sure everybody's tray table is up. All of that stuff takes time. And they have a smoke removal or a fume removal checklist that they might want to go through. All of that takes time. Here's my question. I would not go back to LaGuardia. I would only go back to LaGuardia if I was on fire and I had to get back on the ground and that was the closest possible airport to go to. The reason you don't want to go back to LaGuardia is because the runways are short and the airspace is congested. I'd go down to JFK, and I would always brief that before I took off from LaGuardia. If we have a problem today and we're not burning a wing off, we're going to head down to JFK because they've got longer runways down there. But these guys decide, and again, I understand the mentality. I just took off out of LaGuardia. I should go back to LaGuardia. Okay, that's the captain's call. And maybe he thinks because he's got fumes and potentially a little bit of smoke up in the cockpit that he does have a fire. So that qualifies for my justification. If you're on fire, go back to LaGuardia. So I'm not second guessing him. I'm just saying I'd probably want to go to JFK. He's headed back to LaGuardia.
Southwest 4656, any updates?
Yeah, so we're going to be ready to go back in here in just a second.
Okay, yeah, just let me know when you're ready.
Yep, stand by.
Yep, stand by. He's working checklist still.
New York, South 4656.
Good.
Yeah, currently we have 14,000 pounds of fuel. That's
Okay.
going to be about 4.5 hours, I believe. And we have 41 stalls. We'll be ready to go back in around here shortly.
41 and 14,000. Do you need anything at the airport, like the equipment rolling?
Okay, now, he's going to answer this question in a minute, but that's the question that would have gotten answered had he declared a Mayday. If he had said Mayday, 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 they would have gotten the equipment rolling on the runway, and that question would not have been asked. All right, so that's one unnecessary communication that the Mayday procedure gets you. As you see, they're a really light load, only 41 passengers, 14,000 pounds of gas. Yeah, that's about right for going to Chicago. So they're probably not overweight. He's going to come back now and answer his question, but this again takes up time and it takes attention away from flying the airplane.
We'll go for that, and the smoke and fumes, so the fumes seem to have dissipated. They got pretty strong there for us after the parts, so we're in pretty good shape here to get just back on the ground here in just a couple minutes.
Okay, you got it. Just let me know when you're ready to get turned back in.
All right, thanks.
All right, so he gave him a nice update. He says, hey, it was worse a few minutes ago. Now it seems to have dissipated.
4656, turn right 170, descend and maintain 4,000. Southwest 4656, turn right heading 170, descend and maintain 4,000.
Right 170, descend and maintain 4,000, Southwest 4656.
All right, again, they're real busy up there trying to get everything they can done to get back to
Southwest
LaGuardia.
4656, turn right heading 270. How much longer do you think you need?
Heading again for 4656.
Southwest 4656, right turn 270.
Right turn 270, we need about 5 more minutes, and I'll take vectors.
Okay, 5 more minutes.
And so that was 4656, probably not even 5, so I'll be right back with you.
Okay, thank you.
That's even shorter than 5. The reason I'd go down to JFK is you just have more time to get
Southwest
everything done.
4656, they're asking, are you guys on oxygen right now?
Affirmative, he says. That's an interesting question. I've never been asked that before, and I've never heard a controller ask that question of another aircraft. Are you on oxygen right now? I'm not sure exactly why they asked that question, except for the kind of they're listening to the pilot, and he sounds almost a little distressed. He sounds a little frantic, and he's not really frantic and not really distressed. That's what talking with the oxygen mask on sounds like. It's real abrupt, like this, like you're trying to get your breath. And it's because your oxygen is being forced into your lungs. It's a positive system that positively forces oxygen at you. And so when you talk, it sounds like, you're gasping a little bit. And they just want to kind of double check and make sure, okay, they're on O2. That explains it.
Okay, thank you.
It's a good question, though. It's a very, very good air traffic controller here.
4656 is ready for vectors in the land.
Okay.
Southwest 4656, very good. Fly, go direct to Yeoman, join the ILS 22 localizer.
Direct to Yeoman, fly the ILS 22 localizer, Southwest 4656.
All right, so they're going to get set up
Southwest
for runway 22.
contact New York 127.3.
Switch to New York 127.3 for Southwest 4656.
Hear that labored sound in his voice? That's because he's still on O2.
New York, Southwest 4656, emergency is direct to Yeoman for the ILS 22. That was 4656, New York approach, Roger, LaGuardia altimeter 2981. I'll have an approach clearance in about 5 or 6 miles. Copy 2981 and approach clearance for Southwest 4656.
He's fighting that air that's trying to go back down his throat, right?
Southwest 4656 is free for yelling, cross detector above 3000, set ILS 22 approach. Cross Yeoman, header above 3000, cleared ILS 22 approach, Southwest 4656.
The other thing that these pilots have to contend with, and this is something that you don't, I can count on maybe 3 fingers the number of times over the last 30 plus years at the airlines, I actually landed a simulator with an oxygen mask on. And all 3 of those times were because I requested to do it. Usually at the end of your training, they will say, the instructor will say, hey, we got another 5 or 10 minutes. Do you guys want to try anything? You want to do anything? And I would always say 2 things. I'd say, can we do a no flap landing? Flaps completely up. That's kind of a challenge. And the other is, can I land with the oxygen mask on? Because the oxygen mask, which attaches to your whole head and sucks to your face, you can't see it. There's almost blinders on the side of it, like my hands here, and your peripheral vision goes away. A peripheral vision for a pilot is huge because when you're landing, you see the ground kind of coming up in the corner of your eyes. Well, when you got blinders on, you don't see that. So the tendency is to just kind of wham, you hit real hard because you don't have that feeling for where the flare is. LaGuardia is already bad in that regard anyway because the runways are short and you don't want to mess around by trying to hold the airplane off to get a smooth landing. That's why when you go in and out of LaGuardia, sometimes it's pretty firm coming in there. But it makes it even worse with this. So that's something they're going to have to contend with. There's no way of knowing whether they had a firm landing or not, but I would brief that as a captain to my first officer, no matter who was flying the airplane, just keep an eye out or take the oxygen mask off before you come in and touch down if you have the ability to do that. Here they come.
Southwest 4656, contact LaGuardia Tower 1187, see you. Switch to Tower 1187, Southwest 4656, thanks.
Everybody sounds pretty relaxed.
Tower Southwest 4656 is 2.5 to Greco for the ILS 22.
Southwest 4686, LaGuardia Tower, wind calm, runway 22 to land.
Runway 22, clear to land, Southwest 4656.
Now, my guess is I think he's taking the oxygen off because it sounds like he's not having that forced breathing anymore, but I could be wrong about that. Good call if he did, by the way. All right, they roll out.
Southwest 4656, you reporting assistance?
Runway here. We'd like the vehicles to check us out to make sure we're not smoking phony oil, so then we'll go good for clear.
Roger, Southwest 4656, when they will make the left turn, Bravo, contact ground point 7.
Okay, so he tells them to take a left turn on Bravo, ground point 7. Captain's call on whether he wants to stay on the runway. I would stay on the runway just so the trucks can get around and get a good look at you. But if there's a taxiway where you can taxi off and there's plenty of room for the trucks to get around and take a look at you, why not? Free up the runway so the airport can go back to doing regular business. It's the call of the captain on this. He takes the Bravo taxiway. They're on the ground for about 7 minutes while the fire truck comes out, drives around, gives them the thumbs up, says he can't see anything, everything looks good, and they taxi to the gate. And they begin the long investigation into where the fumes came from. Sometimes these airplanes are down for a few days while they try to recreate what went wrong with it. It's not as easy as you would think, especially with something that's kind of mysterious like fumes. Sometimes it's obvious where it came from. Maybe something burned up. They replace that part and they're good to go and put the airplane back into service. But this one got tense, and it got tense because they had to go on the oxygen. And good job on the part of the crew communicating. The only thing I would change is the Mayday call instead of just the emergency. That way they're helping themselves and they're helping the air traffic controllers and the tower controllers get everybody rolling so that they can get there in a timely manner in case something else goes wrong with your aircraft. You always have to assume that something is going to get worse rather than something getting better. That's just prudent. But they did a great job all the way around. Wonderful job getting back to LaGuardia, even though I would have gone to JFK. Well, now you know. I'm Captain Steeeve. Fly safe. Man, this episode got really tense at one moment. If you want to see another aircraft that returned back to the airport shortly after takeoff, check out either one of these videos.